The bi-monthly credit policy review by the RBI and Dr. Raghuram Rajan's last credit policy decision. Pranjul Bhandari, who's Chief India Economist at HSBC Securities, joins in with a quick run through of what she's expecting from the big event. Thanks very much, Pranjul, for taking out the time to speak with us. Majority of the economists believe it would be a status quo. Do you expect the same? And what is your own specific expectation on what the policy stance would be or the statement would entail?
Sure. So let me start with inflation. Now, inflation has been on the rise. It rose from 4.8% to 5.8% between March and June. And in July, it's expected to rise further to 6.3%. Now, this is definitely a source of worry. But if we really look at what's driving inflation, it's actually food prices. Now, in the last 2-3 months, because of the heat wave, fresh foods, which is fruits and vegetables, inflation in that has risen by about 110 basis points. Also, pulses, the inflation in pulses is about 40 basis points higher than they've been over the long term. If you add both of them together, they are what is causing inflation to be in excess of 150 basis points. Now, if rains continue to be good for the rest of August and reservoir levels, are filled to beyond normal to about 3 to 4% surplus, then around October, there will be a new supply of fruits and vegetables in the market, and the fruits and vegetables, the fresh food inflation could actually come down. Then around early 2017, pulses inflation could also fall, because at this point the pulses sowing is about 40% higher than it was last year. So all in all, let the season sort of unfold. Let's see how the rains are over the rest of August. But it seems like the 150 basis points increase in inflation that we've been seeing is actually likely to come back down, and RBI is on track to meet its 5% inflation target by early 2017. So on the back of that, we think that RBI will maintain its accommodative stance. For instance, it will say that, look, we are in a data dependent mode, and when we find the space, we will cut rates. But at this point, because we don't really know how rains will pan out for the rest of August, we don't think that the RBI will cut rates in the monetary policy meeting tomorrow. So, no policy cut, but an accommodative commentary, as they have been issuing over the last couple of months.
And although we don't have a new governor in place, a lot of monetary policy decisions also depend on personality of the new governor. So I know you may not want to hazard a guess on who you expect or would want to see as the next governor, but could you highlight what do you expect the new person in charge to lay out in terms of the direction of the policy?
Right. So, the RBI has already cut rates by 150 basis points, through this entire rate cutting cycle. We think there is space for a final 25 basis rate cut in the fourth quarter. So, between October and December, if and only if rains for the rest of August are sufficient, reservoir levels come up to surplus, and because of that food inflation falls, we expect a 25 bip rate cut in the fourth quarter. With that, we'll probably be at the end of the rate cutting cycle at this point. This is the only space afforded by RBI's preferred real rate target of 1.5 to 2%.
Okay, and what about the FCNR redemptions that are slated for September, or the impact of that on the currency?
Look, there's a lot of speculation in the market about this, but I want to just take a step back from it. And in economics, we say that if your number of policy tools is equal to the number of policy problems that you have, then you'll be fine. The problem happens when your number of policy tools is lesser than the policy problems that you might have. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. When the FCNRB outflows happen, the markets are foreseeing 3 possible types of problems. One is a rupee shortage, the second is a dollar shortage, and the third is some problems in the banking sector in terms of banking sector capital and LCR ratio and so on. So now if there is a dollar shortage, the RBI can run down some of its FX reserves. We have enough at this point. If you look at any of the metrics that IMF has, we are above normal, we are in the surplus zone according to each of these metrics. So some of the dollar liquidity problem can be easily overcome by drawing down reserves. The second problem that we have can possibly be domestic rupee liquidity deficit. Here the RBI again has OMOs as a policy instrument. It can increase its OMOs and it can remove the rupee depreciation, the rupee shortage problem. The third that we can have is something like on the banking capital, that banks find it difficult to meet LCR norms and so on. And here again, the RBI has tools. For instance, it can allow banks to dive in a little more on its SLR holdings to meet some of its banking capital requirements. So my point here being that we foresee three possible problems that can come up in the FCNRB period, but we also have three policy instruments. We have an instrument for each problem. Therefore, I don't think at this point the FCNRB thing is going to be a big issue, is going to blow out of proportion. I continue to believe that it's something which will create some friction in the short run, but RBI will overcome it pretty smoothly.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.